Hello and welcome to Wednesday Live with Evie. This is number 35. And today's topic is managing your email. And before we get started with that, I want to, first of all, introduce myself. If you do not know me, let me check this light. There we go. If you do not know me, my name is Evie Burke. Evie Burke. There we go. And I work with entrepreneurs and I help them take their productivity to a new level. If you are somebody who feels like you should be getting more done or could be getting more done, come and talk to me. I'll help you out with that. So a couple of things I want to share before we go ahead and get started is if you are not already over in the Facebook group, Productivity for Women Entrepreneurs, head over there and join us. It is a free group and it's a place for you to think about what it is you want to get done and to get a little accountability around that. So head over there and join us. Another thing is if you're feeling pretty overwhelmed by all the stuff you have to do and you want a way to get it out of your head and get it all written down and prioritize it in a way that isn't completely overwhelming, then I have a great resource for you. If you head over to my website, oneinsightcloser.com, you'll find the freebie there called How to Choose Priorities When Everything is Important. And it'll help walk you through that. I've had people describe it as a reset button for their business because it just kind of lays everything out there and it becomes pretty clear what needs to be done first. And last but not least, if you are someone who is looking for some ongoing support, I offer a mastermind and there are still some spots there. So if that's something you're interested in, reach out to me and connect with me on that. I'm going to try to share this so that the group can see it. If you see me looking down or over, I'm like, well, right now I'm sharing it. But normally I'm looking at my notes. So while that is loading and I'm getting that figured out, for those of you on my newsletter list, you'll know that yesterday I sent out an email and I shared about my email, and how overwhelming it was, where I regularly would have over 100 emails and about once a month I'd go through and I'd clear them out. And usually by the time that happened, I had well over 200 or sometimes 300 emails sitting in there waiting for me to look at them. And a lot of times they fell into three categories. They were newsletters or things that were sent out by other businesses that I follow or friends of mine that have businesses that send out emails and I wanted to keep up with them. And so I wanted to look at them and I wanted to read them, but I just hadn't got around to it yet. Or they were things that I needed to make decisions about, or they were things I needed to do. And the problem that I had was the about once a month when I would start going through all of those is it would take me 2 to 3 hours to go through all of my emails. So normally what I would do is I would put something on the TV that I'd seen lots of times before and I would have that running and then I'd start going through my email. And usually, sometimes I do it over the course of 2 days or 2 sessions. Sometimes I'd just sit down and get it all done and I'd go through and I'd clean everything out. And I'd leave maybe about 15 emails in there of things that I still didn't want to make decisions about or still didn't want to do right away. So it kind of was perpetual. So there would be sometimes some of those same emails a month later that I still hadn't done anything with. And the other thing that would happen is as I was going through emails, I would find events that people were having or webinars or things that were going on that looked really interesting that I would have loved to take a part of. But because I was getting to my email 2 to 3 to 4 weeks later, it had passed. I had missed my opportunity because it was lost in my email and I didn't see it. So, some of you might know about Inbox Zero. It's the concept where you keep your inbox at 0 as much as possible. And I'm not sure that I completely subscribe to that, but some of the ideas behind it I do really like. And so I, after I made my last run through of, 2 to 3 hours of cleaning out my email box, I did a couple of things different, and the result was, or the results have been, I'm staying on top of my email. Decisions and things that need to be done don't stay in my inbox. And I'll tell you about what I do with those later. Emails I read daily, and they're either deleted or archived once I read them, so they're not staying in my inbox. And I'm staying on top of things. So when there's a webinar or something happening that I want to attend, when there's an event happening that I want to see or go to, I know about them now because I'm going through my email on a daily basis. And I spend less time and energy on email because I'm not leaving things in there that need to be done that then when I go into my email, I see it for the umpteenth time and go, oh, I still have that thing to do. So email is not so much of that black hole now because I'm staying on top of it. So what you might be wondering is, what did I do? So in the email I sent yesterday, I shared that I had under 20 emails in my inbox. I'm not sure what it is right now. I think it might be something like 30 or something that have come in since yesterday. I didn't get everything completely cleaned out, so now I might have about 30 in there. But by the end of the week, I clear everything out. Usually if I have time to sit down at my computer and do my email, I'm clearing things out. So here's what I do differently. So first of all, when I sat down the last time to clean out my email, I did not leave anything in my inbox. Those decisions that still needed to be made, either I made the decision or I wrote it down on my to-do list that this is a decision that needed to be made. Because if it was on my to-do list, it's more likely to be done because then I'm going to plan for it than if it's in my email and I don't have a clear set of actions for it, right? And the same things with the things that needed to be done, the to-do things. They got written in my to-do list because same thing. If it's not written in my to-do list, I'm not planning for it. So I love that everybody's saying hello to everyone in the comments. So hi Mary, hi Karen, hi Rochelle. It's nice to see you all. So yeah, I made sure I cleaned out my email. I went through and I skimmed or I read all of the things that I wanted to read so that I knew what was coming up, knew what people had been doing, and then I deleted them. If they were something I might want to go back to later, I archived them. The thing about modern email is it's really easy to search for things and to find them later. So with the things that were on my to-do list, if I needed to reference the email later, all I needed to do is write down who sent the email or maybe a keyword, and it's really easy to search for it and to find that email again. It didn't need to stay in my email box or my inbox. And when I go through my email, I process it. If it's a decision that needs to be made, then I make the decision or it goes onto my to-do list. If it's a to-do that needs to happen, it goes on my to-do list. If it's a newsletter that I want to skim through and read, I skim through and read it and see, is there anything going on that I might want to do later? And I get it put on my calendar if it is. I don't leave those decisions or to-dos in my inbox anymore. Now, are there days like yesterday where I had a bunch of things happening and so I didn't get, to inbox 0? Yes, absolutely. But what I did do is I did go through some of my emails and delete some of them so that they weren't there anymore. Skimmed some of the newsletters. Yes, some of the things that I needed to make decisions on, those are still there just because I didn't have a lot of time to sit down with it yesterday. But that means that today, one of my priority things is to go through my email and clear them out. So normally over the course of a day, I'm checking my email maybe 1 to 3 times. And when I'm doing that, I'm sitting down and I'm doing email. I'm not popping in and out of email all day because that's just going to take a lot of extra energy, and it's probably going to frustrate me because I'm going to see the things that I need to make decisions on or I need to reply about, but I might not have time. So instead, when I sit down and I do my email, I have 10 minutes, I have 15 minutes, and that's what I'm doing. And when I come across something that needs to have a decision or have a to-do, if it's something that's under 2 minutes, either I do it right away, or if it's longer, I write it on my to-do list so that I know it needs to happen later. Let me see what else I wanted to say here. Yes, I don't let anything wait until later. If I can respond to it right away, then I do that. I also tend to do email 2 different ways. I do want to mention this. If I'm doing my email on my phone, I don't usually respond to people over my on my phone just because, unless it's a real quick thing, because I introduce too many errors into the email and autocorrect and blah, 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 and it's just frustrating. So usually when I'm on my phone, I'm looking at skimming those newsletters and things like that and deleting those. I'm looking for the ads and things like that that I know I'm not going to look at, and I'll just delete those right away so I don't have to look at them later. And then when I'm on my computer, then I sit down and I really process everything and really go through and respond to email, add things to my to-do list, that sort of thing. So I do tend to do email 2 different ways, on my phone versus on my computer. So toward the end of breakfast, I might open up email on my phone and just delete the ads and things that I don't really care about. I get an email from Pet Finder every day about small dogs that are available for adoption. So I look at those and then delete those and occasionally say, hey honey, look at this cute dog. So he's not ready for a dog yet, so that doesn't go anywhere. But that kind of gives you a feel for how I process email. So I went through it super quick. We're only 15 minutes in. So if anybody has any questions, anything that you'd like me to expand on, something that, a situation that maybe you want to ask about. Oh, Mary says it will remind him that you need a dog. Yes. Yes, it does. And he just shakes his head at me and says, you don't really want a dog right now. So, but yeah, I do look at them every day. I look at those emails with the dogs. So, any questions? So just a quick run through of what I said. When I do email at my computer, I go through everything. I skim through it, or I read it. I make decisions, or do the items, or they go on my to-do list, to-dos and things. So what about a backlog of email? Mary says. So that's when I, before I had my email down to, where right now it's probably under 30 emails. When I had that 200 and some of email, I sat down, I probably did about an hour and a half over the course of 2 days. And I just went through the backlog of email and responded to people. Some of them, it was like, it's been long enough. I haven't heard back from them that I'm just going to archive it and it's there if it pops up later. Some things did take longer because I had left them for so long that I had to figure out what it was about. But I just had to sit down for, about an hour and a half over the course of a couple of days and just get through it. How do you handle having more than one inbox? I have a personal one for business, and one for using when shopping and such online. Email can be a black hole. So for me, what I've done is I have everything pretty much forwarded to one email address. I do have a couple of other ones, but those I tend to check maybe once a week. They don't get a lot of emails anyway. And I have a really old Hotmail one that does get some of the shopping things there, because that's the one that I tend to use when shopping. And a lot of times that one's actually pretty quick to go through because I can just scan through it and go, yeah, there's no actual emails here, and just pretty much delete everything. And otherwise, most everything now, though, is sent to, you know, my main email. And so this is, Rachel, this is the other thing, is I use Gmail to manage my email. So let me bring it up. So it has the tabs. So when I talked about my inbox, I was talking about all of the tabs. Like I was counting all of the emails in the tabs. I'm waiting for it to come up because it's asking me to log in again. So let's see if it'll open on this computer today. I'm having, on a side note, I'm having issues with my desktop, so things don't, oh, it opened right away. So because I use Gmail to manage my email, I have my primary tab, social tab, promotions, updates, and forums. So normally, the way that I kind of move things around here is primary, anything that is from, like, if I were to get an email from you or Mary or, who else is here? Karen. I knew there was somebody else here, or Karen. That would go into my primary. So I would know that those are emails from people. Every once in a while, it gets confused when somebody is sending their newsletter from the same email address that they send their personal email from. So, because normally what I do is social is, there's not a lot in social. So social is where Meetup, Facebook alerts or Facebook things tend to end up, Twitter things, you know, social things. Those end up there. Promotions is where I tend to put the newsletters and things like that. Also, the sales things, the shopping things, those tend to end up there. Updates, what's in updates for me? Is, so if you don't know what this is, don't worry about it, but I subscribe to, or I support some YouTubers on Patreon. So my Patreon updates go there, conference reminders go there, Google alerts go there, you know, things like that pop up there, meetup messages pop there, and then I have forums. So the group messages from LinkedIn are actually pretty much the only thing that ends up in forums anymore. But because, okay, so what the point is, so the point is different emails end up in different buckets. But because they're not folders and they're always, you know, at the top of my, so if I'm trying to see if I have anything here that I don't want you guys to see. I'm going to do the back-facing camera here, if I can figure out the button. So, oh, the light's covering it. So those are the tabs. Sorry about the lighting. So they show up right away, right? And they'll have, I just clicked through all of them, but normally, like over here, there was a little one because it was a new email that came through. So it'll tell me if there's any new emails in there. And then over to the side, it'll say how many unread emails are there. This works really well for me because I know exactly, you know, what's in what tab, so to speak. And it lets it, because it does some of the sorting for me, I don't have to think about it. And if I have a client email or something come in, it's going to come in the primary. So primary is what I check first because those are the things that are generally going to have to-dos or decisions for me. Those are the things that are going to require responses. And then the promotion, sometimes that's the one where I will most likely let it go to, or in the past when I would have like 200 plus emails, I would let the promotions go. The other thing to think about too is, I'm going to switch this back. You're seeing my messy office there, but that's okay. Is it coming back? There we go. The other thing, if you're getting so many emails that it's hard to manage, it might be time to think about which ones do you not need to see. Which ones are the ones that you're constantly deleting and you never open. And you might want to start unsubscribing. So I know with me, because I use Gmail, if I'm deleting an email, like every time it comes in, Gmail says, oh, this must be spam, and it'll throw it in the spam. Let me see if I have anything. Which generally means that I haven't been opening it, so maybe I should just unsubscribe from it. Also, I've started to kind of implement an eye roll rule, which sounds interesting, but I went through and I joined a bunch of Facebook groups at the beginning of the year, and so I also ended up joining a few of their newsletters. And for the purpose that I joined their list, I learned what I wanted to about how they ran their business, you know, from an outsider's perspective. And for some of them now, I find I roll my eyes when their emails come in. And some of it is, and I'm going to say this with much love, so there's no judgment here, they're just not my people. Some of these girls are in their mid-20s, and so sometimes the things that they say is not for me, somebody who is quickly approaching 40, right? And so the same thing is probably going to be true for me sometimes, where the things I say aren't going to appeal or maybe resonate with somebody who is younger or older than me, right? So, but I have kind of implemented this rule where if somebody shows up in my inbox and I look at what they're saying and I kind of go, oh, yeah, okay, give yourself a few more years, then I'll just unsubscribe because I'm obviously not their person. And the energy that I am putting forth toward the things that they're doing isn't the energy that they want, and I don't need to be in that energy, so I'll just unsubscribe. That was a really long explanation for saying if I find myself rolling my eyes for any reason at somebody who shows up in my inbox on a regular basis, I will unsubscribe from them. So, that's just something else to think about is, love the eye roll rule, yeah. If you're getting so many emails that you can't stay on top of them, start to notice which are the ones that you're just not checking anymore, that really don't resonate for you. The other thing I started to do is, if I don't recognize the person who's showing up in my inbox and I read the article and I cannot figure out who they are, I will unsubscribe because obviously I haven't connected with them enough to be able to see them in my inbox and go, oh yeah, I know who this person is, and have a feel for their business. I'm going to unsubscribe. So, you know, there's some people that I just don't connect with. So I will unsubscribe from their stuff, not because they don't share great content or because they're not great people, but if I randomly came across them 2 months ago and they've been sending me emails every month and I haven't read them and I finally open it up and I have no idea who they are, then, well, I probably don't need to be subscribed to them, and that's fine. So, any other questions? Did that help, Rochelle? I know there's a delay here, so sometimes it's hard to know where people are. Okay, that did help. I delete blocks in the public online. You delete blocks in the public online email. I don't know what that means. I've unsubscribed, and I think that put me on a list so I get things that I didn't even sign up for. Sometimes when I unsubscribe, I'll make sure that I'm going and especially when they pop up with another page and it gives you all those check marks, I'll make sure that I'm looking at what the check marks are and, do unsubscribe all. They shouldn't be moving you to another list. So if they are, then I might start marking them as spam or unsubscribing and saying I didn't ask to be put on this list, just because that will, if they get enough of those, it can reflect poorly on them with their email provider. Technically, it's legal to add people to an email list as long as you have an opt-out. Mary, don't they have to somehow say that they are interested? Like, isn't the canned spam thing, like, you have to have permission to add them to the list? I could see where if you've added them to a list and then you're creating another list for marketing reasons that's along the same lines, that you can add them over there. Really? Not technically. That's very interesting. Thank you, Mary. So for those of you who don't know, Mary Wu is a social media expert, so she knows all of the social media and email things. So I've just learned that while it's perhaps ethical to ask someone if they can be added to your email list, it's technically not required. What is required is that you give them a way to unsubscribe and leave them unsubscribed. Yes, and as Mary says, it's rude to add somebody without permission, but not illegal. So we are at 1:30, so I know we're not quite at a half hour though, but if anybody has any additional questions about this, oh yeah, you started getting stuff from insurance providers. Yeah, I would delete those or mark those as spam, I suppose. I don't know how to get yourself off of some of those lists. Yeah, groups that sell lists liberally. Yeah, I did notice the email address that I used to use for job searches many, many years ago. It's one that's not forwarded to my current email. And I logged into it earlier this week just to see if there was anything there that I needed to check, because I don't think I've logged into that one for like 6 months. There was so much crap in there that the list, that email address must be on a list somewhere, because there's so much stuff in there that I never asked for, that I just kind of scanned things briefly and then things got deleted. So that one can be difficult. My husband, he works for a wireless ISP and he runs his own mail server. So he will regularly, if he signs up for something, he'll just make up an email address and go and create it on his server, because he can add however many he wants because it's his server. And then he can easily tell, did somebody send me something that they shouldn't have. So he'll sign up for like, if he signed up for a freebie at like Target, then it might be Nate Target at, his email address. And then he'll have that forward to his inbox. And if he starts getting a bunch of crap, then he can see where was the email originally sent to. So that's not something most of us have the ability to do, but he doesn't do it as much now, but he used to do it a lot. So it was interesting sometimes to see where things would come from. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. So today we talked about email. If anybody has any questions about this, any other questions or something you'd like me to dive into or talk with you personally about, I'm happy to do that. Reach out, let me know. And until next week, much love. Bye.